T. O'Keefe, and I have a lot to say. There's an old Irish saying, like a little verse, that says, "Baby, where do you come from?" And the person answers, the baby answers, "Out of the nowhere into the here." But you just don't come here, you have a background. So before I could even tell you anything about my life, I would have to tell about my grandparents and my parents. My mother always had all these darn pets, cats, dogs, canaries, just like my grandmother had a land turtle at one time. So my mother said, oh my God, she had several dogs, but this one Blackie, he was about 50, 60 pounds, and she loved that thing. Well, he died. And she said, I can't put him in the garbage, because I'm not even want to listen, because I'm like thinking about my college study. She said, I can't stand that. I can't put him in the garbage. What am I going to do? And she remembered 91st Street was the ASPCA, and for $1 you could get the dog cremated. So she said, well, I got to get him down there. How am I going to get him down? I said, but not my worry, I didn't care. So she got an old suitcase, old big brown suitcase. She stuffed that poor animal in there. She got him in. She had to take the subway, the A train from uptown Manhattan at Dyckman Street, 190th Street, all the way down to 96. Then you had to take the crosstown bus over to the east side where the ASPCA was on the East River. So my mother weighed about 98, 100 pounds at the most. She was a little taller than I, so she was probably skinnier. So anyway, she takes the subway, she gets off, and she's tired now. That suitcase is kind of heavy. So she crosses the street to get to the bus, and she puts the suitcase down and, tries to get her hands to work again. And two, rotten little or teenage kids, well, I can't use the word thugs anymore, but they were kind of, crime-ridden or whatever. They steal it. They run off and they take the suitcase. Well, my mother, she said she had to lean against the building and she peed her pants. She said because she was laughing so much when those kids or teenagers opened that suitcase and saw a dead dog, poor Blackie. So that was the story of poor Blackie. So anyway, the next thing that happened to me is there was a group of girls in my welfare office, and they always had lunch at the Hotel Teresa. So I was invited along to go, and I did. And Elaine Robinson was one of the gals, and her father was a famous doctor or something. So unbeknownst to me, at a table I see this glint of a diamond ring, and this group, one or two guys there, and they wave us over, the guys. Elaine goes, and I'm introduced to them, and one is a guy named Ellsworth Johnson. Bumpy Johnson was his street name, I guess. He was in the papers all the time. Various crimes. Supposedly he had killed people, I don't know. So, but I knew he was up for trial. But we became closer and closer until we were practically inseparable. Now, he had a wife and a daughter in Philly, and a granddaughter stayed with he and his wife. And when Mamie, his wife, was away, I admit, I did spend time with him in his brownstone on 123rd Street and Morris Avenue, wherever it was, in Manhattan. So, that was very hard for me. He got me an apartment in Brooklyn, and he spent some time with me. And I remember, so many of his sayings. He was such a bright man. He would have been something had he not been born on the docks of North Carolina and suffered many indignities and whatever. Fell into a life of, numbers, crime, whatever. So that was kind of, he had to leave. He had to go into prison because, as he told me, Lucky Luciano and all those guys and whatever, I said, he had made some mistakes, he had done wrong things. I kept money back or whatever. I remember being at his house, and I remember him on the phone to Miami. I don't know whether that was one of those, you know, Lee Strasberg guys. That's the actor who played the guy in Godmother. But anyway, so he told me he had to either be killed or go to prison for 15 years. So it was a mock trial. He did have the trial, and he went away, and he made me promise, you know, that I would never see him, never write to him.